Okay. I was so confused. So I didn't plan on taking a thumbnail today. And so I clicked like retake thumbnail, but I thought I clicked go live. So I was like so confused for a second. And then I was like, oh, lol, that's what's happening. So anyway, today I have 5 decks, one, two, three, four, 5 decks, and a fortune cookie. I haven't opened the fortune cookie to know what the fortune is. It is still inside the wrapper. Um, I've gone live from here before, but I use the setup today. This is laptop microphone, laptop webcam, uh, and apparently there's construction that's happening. It was just like raining for literally like it'll rain for 3 minutes out here 5 times a day. But yeah, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open the fortune cookie, read the fortune. I don't know if there's 5 or 6 numbers. I have a thing, and then I have decks that I have out, and then I have another thing. I don't know what I'm doing today, so I was like, I'll just pull a deck from everywhere, and we'll figure it out. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna read the fortune. It gives lucky numbers. I already have the decks. First, I have the Wild Unknown Archetypes, the Dreams of Gaia Tarot, the Gilded Lenormand, the Astro Matrix Tarot, and the Mystical Shaman Oracle cards. If there are 6 numbers, then the first and the last number I'll get from the Lenormand. And I'm literally like, I shuffled these, but I'll give them a few more shuffles. And I'm literally just gonna pull the card that corresponds to that number. So if it's number 5, I'll pull the fifth card, and so on and so forth. And we'll see if anything comes to be. I feel like so. What have I noticed lately? Also, I guess I'm missed in my late night time slot. Uh, yeah, for working folk and for people who are used to me being included in working folk or actively working folk, uh, my time slot did just kind of suddenly, with no warning, it changed. But you know, I'm a daytime now. Now I'll shuffle these, and yeah, we'll see what's up. So lately, it's interesting because I've noticed twice. Once on a TV show on Scorpion, there was a guy who's the author from Once Upon a Time. I was like, that man looks so familiar. The first author. Um, he hired the geniuses at Scorpion to do like a ghost show, paranormal investigation type thing. Um, and he was there. Some of them were like, "Oh, there's no such thing as ghosts," blah blah blah. He was like, "Well, that's why I'm hiring you." Also, like the skeptic, I guess, has been a low key thing because I am not finishing, but I started another show, and there was someone who was hired in the supernatural paranormal realm who's a skeptic, and it's like the person was like, I'm hiring you for your skepticism because we're trying to prove things here, you know so it serves to have someone that doesn't have a confirmation bias. uh, Water in the seer, look at these and the cave, but anyway, the guy mentioned that there was a scientist who conducted an experiment where he weighed people immediately before and after their passing and noticed that they were 21 grams lighter. And so I guess it's theorized or postulated that the soul weighs 21 grams. And I saw that maybe last week. And then I'm watching anime. I was watching a show, and that same experiment was brought up by another scientist. He was like, they say that the soul weighs 21 grams. I wonder how much like memories and thoughts and stuff like that weighs. And so I was like, that's interesting. All right, I'm done. Let's go. Like to see it twice, like the same whatever. I'm just like, and I did have a dream. I'm always having dreams. What's new? Okay, let's try to not make a mess. Mmm. Ooh. Small wonders are all around you. Open your eyes. Ooh, okay. I mean, I feel like she's on brand. Like she's in line. Let me not be rude. And the first number is 7. That's hilarious. It's giving me, I think it was the last live where I used the mystical medley. I'm pretty sure it's the last time I went live. And at the end of the video, there were all the black flags and the red flag, but the Knight of Swords had the green flags. And then there was the Seven of Swords. And it was like, there was just that energy of like, things are changing. But the ways in which they're changing may be subtle at first. And so for 7 to be the first number, the 7 of Swords was actually turning some of those black flags green. But it was like, shh, on the low. Like, don't tell nobody that, like, behind the scenes, things are kind of sort of secretly improving. Small wonders are all around you. Open your eyes. Lucky numbers are 7, 8, 10, 15, 17, and 37. I'm not necessarily used to seeing them in an ascending order. Usually it's like random. I don't know if that's this brand of fortune cookie or if that's just how it worked today. It would be wild if no, they can't. I was gonna say it would be wild if those numbers matched up with one of the Diceology cards. So I do have 6 numbers. So the Lenormand is actually in the middle, but since Lenormand are read in conjunction in pairs, triples, however, the first number and the last number I'm going to pull from the Lenormand. And I guess I can do it face down since I'm counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is an expanded Lenormand, so we actually have more than 36 cards, which is convenient. So the second number was 8. So we'll pull the 8th card from the archetypes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'll put these at the bottom of the deck. And then we have number 10 from the Mystical Dream Tarot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Actually, this is the Dreams of Gaia Tarot. I do that every time I use this deck. Then we have number 15 from the Astral Matrix Tarot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Put those at the bottom. And finally, we have number 17 from the Mystical Shaman Oracles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. All right. all face down on the table. And then number 37 I already pulled from the Lenormand. So also I'm going to be going to the gym with my number one fan. I'm just waiting on her to let me know what time we're leaving. So I will be checking my phone. I mean, I do that basically every time I'm live, but just so that you know, I'm trying to be cognizant and aware of that. And when that happens, this is over. So let's see how far we can get into this. Hopefully, it shouldn't be too long. All right. Small wonders are all around you. Open your eyes. So we're starting with the bridge, number 38. We've seen the bridge recently. It was the bridge and the card of the Jack of Clubs. And it was an energy about, or it was around this energy of transitions and how there's something that's so potent that it it enables. Let's just keep going. Maybe it will be well. Okay, yeah. So in context to this, the last time we saw it, it was with like the Jack of Clubs. I forget what the actual Lenormand is for it, and it was an energy that was like either there's so much creative energy or so much creative potential that someone could get a lot of ideas at once. And so a lot of things could be started at this time to be continued after this period is over. So to not necessarily fight that creative, fluid, flowing feeling um, by like limiting oneself to one particular creation, unless that is what is for someone to do, because you could also utilize that energy to complete or to take a creation from start to near completion. Um, but in general, it was just like an overabundance of excitement or of an exciting energy and exciting in a like a molecular way, like lots of like something that vibrates very quickly, something that maybe like sonic, you know, is that the word? Something that like pulses, like the toothbrushes, the teeth brush high. Um, And so it's like it's to basically kind of like let a child be a child, right? If a child is excited, you don't have to dampen their excitement because they're too loud or whatever. Like just let them be kids. Now this coming out with the bridge again, small wonders, um, it's like it's leading to something. But the bridge, it's both opening something and closing something else at the same time. So our alchemy is Eros, which is number 71. I'm going to read it from the book, maybe later. Uh, what's this? Bridge of Love? That's the thing, right? Bridge of Love. I feel like that's from a TV show, like from a cartoon. I don't think it was Camp Laszlo. Let's see. Where's my phone? I'm intrigued. Eros is interesting though, because Eros, and I believe in this book it mentions it, but also Eros is the Knight of Cups in the Tarot Apocalypsis, and it might mention it in that. I don't remember, but it talks about Eros has how Cupid Eros has two arrows. There are arrows of attraction and arrows of aversion. Maybe that plays into the theme of the bridge too. Like while we're attracted to some things, we're going to be averse to others to almost aid in this transition. It's almost like how sometimes if there's a choice or decision that we have to make, that it's time for us to make, or that we're asking the universe and the divine to help us make, um, how something will happen either to sweeten us to something or to sour us to something else. And like that's our sign. Like we're asking if we should stay where we are or if we should move. And we have a really like negative or not even like super negative. We just have a really like unfavorable interaction. And that's like, okay, that's the sign that it's for us to go. Or we end up coming across, or maybe we're researching, maybe we come across some information that makes the place that we're considering moving to look like super like, oh my gosh, like that's where I want to be right now. So it's that like it'll sour or sweeten, it will attract or averse, if that's the word. Bridge of Love. Oh, television series. Oh, Bridges of Love. Bridge of Love song. I think it was a cartoon, wasn't it? Maybe not. I'm not trying to give flags. What is the bridge of the song? Bridge of Light. Okay, which song has the best bridge? We are all the way. That's fine. So the dream, no, yeah, the dreams of Gaia Tarot brings us abundance. Okay, so this is interesting because as I was shuffling, I wasn't looking at the split for these cards often as I was shuffling. I was just like shuffling. But I did notice the crossroads. No, three cards fell out when I was shuffling the Lenormand. The crossroads, the moon, and the fish symbolize abundance. And it was that energy of like, well, at first it was an immediate interpretation of like, no matter what is chosen, no matter which direction is settled upon, there's going to be abundance. But Eros in this position actually complicates things a little bit because of the aversion. Meaning it's not necessarily giving me the same energy of like, no matter what choice. I mean, yes, we can say that no matter what we choose, we're going to be abundant. I was watching a show and like it's been so slow. I guess this show is like, it has a mixture of like action and storytelling. But the new season came out, or the second part of the second season came out, and it's been so slow. And yesterday I had the thought, I was like, I've always said I want to watch a show where there is no drama. Like, because I've heard that, like if there's no drama in the show, then like it would be boring and nobody would watch. And here I am, like, wow, like this show is kind of getting a little boring. Well, that's because like it's an anime and they have magic, and I want to see the magic. You know what I mean? Um, but I had that recognition. I was like, I always say I want to watch a show where like everything is good, and that's what's happening in the show right now. Like relationships are healing, people who were lost due to tragedy have come back together, old romance I guess has been rekindled in a way that I was like, you know what, this is good. And then the drama came and I'm like, okay, here we go. But why was I saying that? I got lost. I need to focus. Oh, because so in the show there's this guy who talks to an unknown supreme being, we'll call it. I think it's one of the deities in this universe. And when he gets the bad news, he's upset and he's like, well, he's torn between the family that he's now built. Like he literally finds out that he's going to be a father, and then in the same day, he gets news about the rest of his family that was lost to that tragic event, right? Um, like displaced, and so they're trying to find each other. They're trying to reconnect. Um, so he's torn between going to help because he learns that there's difficulty finding his mother, and his father had just sent his little sisters because the environment that they're going to isn't, easily traversable or easily traversed. And so he's like, take care of your little sisters. Like, we have a lead on where your mom is. And so he repairs his relationship with his sisters. He weds. He finds out he's going to be a father. And then the same day he gets that news, he finds out that there's trouble with like rescuing or getting to the mom. They get a message like, send help immediately. So he's torn between like and he's settling into being happy. He's a character that is not used to being happy at all. And so he's like settling into being happy, and then he gets this news, and he's like, do I stay with the family that I'm creating, or do I go and help rescue my mother? Because he is very capable. And so he has a conversation with the divine being thing. And he's like, what's going on? Like, you told me that I would regret going to help save my mom. Like, but like I just got news that like everything is not okay. And he's like, yeah, basically, long story short, if he had immediately gone to save his mom, then the malady that he was suffering wouldn't have been cured. He wouldn't have connected with his missing childhood friend. They wouldn't have wed. He wouldn't now be a father in the making. He wouldn't have repaired his relationship with his sisters, and all the other friends and all the other positive things that have happened wouldn't have happened if he had gone. And basically, after that, it boiled down to like, you're going to have regret either way. If you go, you're going to regret missing your child being born because it takes at least a year to get to the place. You're going to regret, the like missing out on time with like your friends and family and stuff like that. If you don't go, you're going to regret not going. So either way, there's going to be regret. That's the point that I'm kind of sort of like working back to. But on the opposite side, it's like either way, there could be abundance. But with this attraction and aversion of Eros, it makes it seem like, even with the energy of the bridge, because bridges aren't meant to be homes, right? They're meant to connect us from one point to another. They're meant to be temporary liminal connectors, not places to build domiciles and start families and stuff like that. I kind of want to I'm going to grab the 15th. No, 7, 8, 10. I'm going to grab the 10th card. I can't even grab the 10th card from the bottom because I put the cards from the top at the bottom. So that was 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So that should have been the top. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This should be the card that was the 10th from the bottom. On the other side is the King of Earth. So we have abundance compared to the King of Earth. The King of Earth is the King of Pentacles, is also very abundant. So it is this energy of like, either way, no matter what choice or decision we make, we're going to end up at abundance. But there is a potential that is more something than another. And it works on aversion and attraction. But what is, maybe I should like, sometimes I wonder if I shouldn't be so concerned with the human who was watching this in the way of like, because not everyone has the same So what I was going to say is if this works off of aversion and attraction, it could be difficult if we are attracted to comfort and averse to anything outside of our comfort zone. Sometimes the spirit, the divine, our intuition will lead us into places that are uncomfortable. And sometimes those are the very places where we'll find our miracle and where we'll find our blessing. So maybe it's us for to discern the type of attraction and aversion that it is too. Like if we're averse to something because it makes us uncomfortable and because it's what we want and we for whatever reason feel some type of way about going after what we want, then that's different. Like that's a different case to like us experiencing an aversion to something because our boundaries are being crossed. We realize and recognize that we've outgrown the place or that it's just not a fit and just not a match for us. Like that's what comes to my mind. Then I'm like, well, does that need to be communicated? Maybe it's helpful to just have a reminder. Because sometimes, again, like we will be very averse to the things, to the very things that we want. Or we'll have surface level, face value level aversions to things that become the things that we want, right? Like if you have to work really hard for 10 seconds to enjoy a lifetime of abundance, sometimes that 10 seconds is like, ew, like, no. Just either way, financially, it looks either way, the energy of like wealth is present. But when it comes to abundance, it's more than just wealth. Like when it comes to the King of Pentacles, it's more than just the money, but like either way, it'll be good. This, we just saw the seer and water at the cut, and we have this lady who's seeing something in this, whatever she's seeing in the water of this like coconut or whatever this is. There's more to this abundance. Okay. So then the Astral Matrix Tarot gives us the Queen of Wands. I love how like the rain stops, the construction noises stop. I was low key gonna like just power through it. I was gonna be like, hey guys, like there's construction happening, whatever we hear or whatever, that's what we're meant to take, but nothing. Okay, it's fine. The Queen of Wands. She is the water of fire. In this deck, they show you the elemental breakdown. So the queens are watery, the pages are earthy, the knights are fire, and the kings are air. I don't know. The water of fire. The water of fire, it feels like it's the on the Venn diagram of water and fire, where they meet is in the realm of like passion and fulfillment. Like to be very passionate about something is to be both very like fired up about it, but also very like emotional at the same time. Like passion is something that affects the heart in both an emotional way and a physical way. And not like one of those like sadness and grief and like heartbreak actually damages the heart physical because that's more like emotion to the point of physical, But the physical, like to be passionate about something is like for one's blood rate, is that the heart rate, uh, for one's heart rate to like increase, and like like the feelings of love, right? How it's so physical, how it provokes such physical responses from the body, but also like heart racing. Like if your heart starts to race whenever you think about, like whenever you get really excited about something, because like it's that, like that physicality of the heart, and like how the rest of the body is affected by the heart pumping out so much blood, oxygenated blood all over the place or whatever. Girl, I don't know. Like that's the water of fire. So there is something, I kind of sort of avoided the word fulfillment when looking at this abundance. But if that's what the difference is, like I think a lot of times it's easy to think that if we want wealth, then we have to do something that we don't necessarily want to do or that we don't like to do, or that we'll have to compromise our integrity, ethics, or morals in some kind of way to be able to make some kind of money. But like there's a level of fulfillment in this abundance that may not necessarily be there to the same degree with the King of Pentacles. It feels like the King of Earth, the fulfillment for the King of Earth would come with what he's able to do with his money, in terms of like how he could be there for his family, send his kids to college, get, you know, generally doesn't have to specifically be a he, but in the heteronormative, whatever, he can send his kids to college, get his wife whatever he wants, he can drive whatever he wants, but not necessarily in a super vain way, but just in a way of like enjoying the fruits of one's labors. But with the King of Pentacles, there isn't necessarily also the assumption or the widespread, like the sweeping assumption that he also loves what he does for work. Not only does he enjoy what he can do with the wealth that he generates, but he also enjoys how he makes it, how he accumulates it. And it feels like with the abundance and with the meeting of the water and fire and this Queen of Wands, that's what that is. Like there's also a fulfillment and a joy and a passion about like the way that that abundance is generated. And then there's a subsequent passion and fulfillment in what that abundance is able to do. Now, the throne of the Queen of Wands is giving me lotus lily energy. Like these are looking like petals off to the sides today, like pink petals. That's why I was staring at it. I was like, are these petals or are these just like crystals or like some kind of rocks? She's giving petals, so that's what we're gonna go with. And there's something about the look of determination in her face that may speak to like another thing that I've been seeing all over is like it's time. And then even like the best friend that I do the podcast with, I feel like, or either her or my journey buddy, somebody sent me something and it was just like, it's time. I've been seeing it all over. And maybe like that's what this face is about. Maybe that's what this confidence is about too. Like there's some kind of recognition of self, some kind of realization of self, some kind of position of power, I guess, that the self is in, that are, yeah, I guess a position of power or a state of being empowered. that makes one feel confident. Like, this is what I've been building towards. This is what I've been working for. Like, I know I'm going to crush this, even if it's something that I haven't necessarily done yet. Now, because of this energy, it makes it seem like this is something that's mutually beneficial. Like, the individual will benefit maybe monetarily, but also um, the individual will also benefit in ways that are more validating of one's gift, skills, abilities, of one's knowing of, like, it substantiates the confidence that the Queen of Wands has in herself, but also whatever she's contributing to, it benefits, like, it benefits because of her presence, or it grows in some way because she is there. Excuse me. The difference between abundance and the abundance of, oh, this is a 14, which is a 5. Them 14 fives. The difference, this is also a 14. This is a 15. I take it back. That's a 15. I don't know why I saw this is a 14. This is a 15. I don't know why I saw that as 14 in my head for a second. Um, but the difference between the two could also be scale. Like, in terms of like impact, in terms of scope. The king, both of them have a scope and a scale that affects more than just themselves. But abundance, and it's like it's different. Not only is it different for different people, but it's also like it's different in terms of like logistics, but it's also different in terms of what we feel individually, right? Like, you could look at someone who has a local community service type charity project versus someone who has a global charity. And you could say, well, like, the global charity is on a larger scale than the community charity. So, like, not only in that sense and in that way is the definition of abundance, like, whatever, but also like personally within ourselves. If the person with the community charity is like, if that's where their passion, or if that's where their call or whatever, like, if that's where it's needed recognized, like, that is their abundance. And so their King of Pentacles might be doing just for their family when they could do for a neighborhood or a community or a city or a county, a country. And then maybe for the other person with the global charity, their level of abundance is like it's different. All of this is like personal though. Eros is a very personal, like, it works with the person. And even it feels like even in like a couple, they could give each other different things, and so they could love each other for different reasons. Like, if we each individually need different things, our love can be equal in magnitude but very different in like reason or whatever. Maybe someone's like, I love that they like listen to me, and someone from the outside could be like, you do so much for them and all they do is listen to you. Like, that doesn't seem balanced or fair. And they're like, what I need from others and what I want is to be like validated, listened to, whatever. I don't need them to provide for me all of the things that I can provide for myself. I'm actually happy to share the fruits of my labors with the person that I love. Eve, hi, hello. I'm doing all right. How are you? You caught me. I'm just playing. I'm like, the cards are over here, my laptop's over here. I don't know what time you made that comment, but hi. Like, there is no comparison here, is the point. Now, the Mystical Shaman Oracle card is. Ah, these are face down on the table. I told y'all that, right? It's the beauty way. But look at this flower. And then look at the like the crystals around the throne of that Queen of Wands. Look at the petals on that flower. Mm. That's why I was like looking at it. I was like, these are like drawing my attention for some reason today. Do you know any Tauruses, Eve? Why do I almost feel like I don't know? Do you know any Tauruses? Is there anything? I'll text you. I mean, the beauty way is pretty self-explanatory. I think the one thing about the beauty way, though, is I know it's a dragonfly, but we see the queen seated in her throne in the Queen of Wands. And it's like in the beauty way, she like ascends from the throne, or she's no longer seated. I don't know if she like levitates. The beauty way is number 4. The bridge is number 38. I also want to compare the numbers. Okay. I didn't think so. And then the final Lenormand is the book, 26. The 10 of Pentacles, 10 of Diamonds. You see that? This book is interesting because it's locked. Like there's this whole. Hold up. Is this Taurus? This is literally Taurus. And it's Taurus season right now. Ooh. Just a Taurus moon. Who do you know that's a Taurus moon? You see that? That little spyglass, eyeglass thing? It's on Taurus. Because there's Gemini, there's Pisces, that's Aries, that's Cancer. So that has to be Taurus. I've never noticed that until now. We actually saw card 37 recently. Sagittarius? Let's see, who do I know? I know some Tauruses. I know some Pisces. I feel like I know people all over. Even Sagittarius. I feel like no. I feel like statistically, I probably know the least amount of Scorpios. I feel like I know a bunch of Aquariuses and Pisces, Aries. Everybody's an Aries. Geminis. My South Node is in Gemini, so I don't know if I'm just like I find Geminis all over the place. Um, I feel like I know quite a few Sages. Maybe Cancers. I know quite a few Tauruses too. And I feel like maybe that's because the Gemini, maybe Leo. I know a few Leos. I'd say Cancer, Scorpios. I know a lot of Virgos and Libras. Cancer, Scorpios, and Leos, even though I met quite a few one year. Cancers and Scorpios, I feel like I know the least number of, which is interesting because I'm a Pisces. But the one like the Scorpios, okay, now I'm thinking of Scorpios that I know that I met like at school. I know Rob's a Scorpio. Um, I know so many Geminis. Like everybody I met at school, I feel like for the first like 2 to 3 years, everybody was a Gemini. And even after that, because there was like maybe the first year I made a lot of Geminis, and then the fourth year, third, fourth year, I met more. I don't know. Anyway, I had a dream that I was in a chair that went far back, and I just like trusted it. Now, in real life, that's hard to do. But in the dream, I was like, I'm going to just lean back in this chair until my back is almost touching the floor, and the chair will keep me up. Anyway, so it's been almost an hour. Hey, Holly. So I know that you've seen Rob, but I told Rob what you said when I sent him the May the 4th be with you message, and Rob says hi. Excuse me. So we have the bridge, Eros, abundance, the Queen of Wands, the Beauty Way, and the book. The book closes one chapter. No, it's closing an entire book. This is interesting. I don't know if I remembered. Yeah, I did. I talked about it the last time I was live, and how I've seen shows with parallel universes, like parallel timelines, past lives. And I've seen a show where it's almost like a retelling of a story that I'm already familiar with. Like what would have happened if this had continued and progressed instead of it taking this other path. And for some reason, it's this book, like the queen getting off of her throne, like flying, ascending her own throne. It's like this next book doesn't have to be a continuation of the volumes that came before. Like this is one of those, oh, it was truly a departure for, oh yeah, happy belated Mother's Day. Oh my gosh. To all the moms out there. You somehow know several Capricorns. I feel like I'm at Capricorn era. Maybe not. I take that back. Maybe Capricorns are the ones that I don't know too many of either. Cancer, Scorpios, and Capricorns. I know a few Capricorns, but I feel like they're either early Capricorn, closer to Sagittarius, or late Capricorn, closer to Aquarius. I don't know if I know any like deep in Capricorn season, like around the new year. No, yeah. I feel like I know someone born on New Year's Eve. Like I found out their birthday was on New Year's Eve. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. All your children remembered you yesterday. I I knew Mother's Day was coming, but it sounded like it was so far away. And then I was talking to one of my buddies, one of my Scorpio friends. Apparently one of the few that I have. I just he's a Cancer. I feel like yeah. Anyway, um, and he was like, "Oh, like you should get your mom something nice for Mother's Day." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, Mother's Day is Sunday." So I did what I could. I remembered barely, but I did. I remember the bridge, Eros, abundance. Oh yeah, the Queen of Wands. This it's almost like it's a departure for the author or whatever. Um, Also, I've been watching. It came up on my YouTube, like Terrence Howard. He was like, an actor was my vocation, and I liked being an actor. I loved being able to provide for my family, but my passion was in physics. And something about this is also giving me that. But again, that's the energy of like between the one of those energies between the King of Pentacles and abundance. The King of Pentacles, it almost feels like his energy is more that he loves what he can do with his money or with the wealth that he generates. But on abundance, not only would someone love how their wealth and abundance serves them, but they would also love like how they accumulate it. Like that's just in my mind what the like I'm trying to, so the bridge is number 7. We're gonna try. Go see a numerologist if you want. Ooh, what? Sushi. Sushi? Wait, I know a Capricorn, but he's January 16th. Like he's almost ish. Almost an Aquarius ish. 7 is the bridge. 7 is the number of like spirituality and stuff. 7 is I feel like 7 as a number of spirituality. It's a gateway, it's an entryway. It's a recognition that there is more beneath the surface, that there exists something between the lines, that there are principles that govern the governing principles. There are principalities that govern the governing principles. I like that. Eros is it's 8. 71 is an 8, and it's also the 8th card. So that's a little bit of 8 action. Uh 8 is a number to me, honestly. I know 8 is a number of abundance. I've heard 8 is a number of abundance, but something about the 8 almost feels like a trap to me. Um, like it feels like it's easy to get into an 8, but it's not necessarily as easy to get out of an 8. Like I guess if we think about the 8 of Cups is moving. The 8 of Wands has a lot of momentum. Um, but it's like on a on the clock, if you use block numbers, every number fits within the 8, kind of sort of because it has to at that point. Like the old school alarm clocks with the blocky numbers. Every number fits within the 8. Now, so 8 could be almost a comfort zone after the 7. Like 4 and 4 is 8, right? Excuse me. 4 is the number of stability. So it's a stability beyond stability. It's almost like being comfortable in an uncomfortable zone. Like if there's our comfort zone and then the zone of uncomfort, the 8 would almost be that boundary just beyond our comfort zone, but close enough to our comfort zone that we can tell ourselves that we're pushing ourselves. We can feel like we're pushing ourselves, but it's still within comfortable like confines and boundaries. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it feels like the trap of the 8 could be that like it's not over. Like there's still 9 and then 10, I guess. Kind of. So it's an understanding. It's more understanding of what we discover at the 7. And it's an understanding that explains maybe a lot of things. I'm seeing like silver and gold and red. I mean, they're Christmas. But I'm looking at the gold and I'm focusing on the silver and gold in particular. And so it's giving me the key of silver and the key of gold, which is giving me hierophant energy. And it's almost very that. It's like the comfort that we have in the knowing that we discover at the 7. But it's almost like it stops short of it's almost like at the 7, we discover that there's more to life than what we thought. At the 8, we get the answers to all of the questions of the mystery of life, like the author. So at the 8, it's like for let's say that we're a character in a story. 7 is the realization that we're in a story. At the 8, it's like we get to read the entirety of the book. If it's a series of books, we get to read the whole series. So in reading the series, you get to see like the settings and other characters, like their perspective and their thoughts and their motivations, because like that's a character reading the entirety of the book rather than just knowing the part that they play. But the character and getting to know the books, it's almost like the character never thinks to talk to the author. And when you read the entirety of a series of books, you can glean things about an author, but it's like at the 8, there's no thought to talk to the author because it's so comfortable in all of the explanations that it gets just through reading the entirety of the story rather than just being a character in it, which again is fine. If that makes any sense. I gotta go to the restroom. So 8 was Eros, and Eros is attraction and aversion. That may, because so when I first was talking about it and when we were moving on to abundance, I was like, we are attracted to things for various reasons and we are averse to things for various reasons. And sometimes it's important for us to differentiate if we are using attraction and aversion as a metric of should I do this or should I do that, then maybe it would be beneficial sometimes to go a step further and go like, why am I attracted to this or why am I averse to that? Because if I'm attracted to this because it's comfortable and familiar, and I'm averse to that because it's uncomfortable and unfamiliar, but I'm seeking, manifesting, desiring something completely new, an experience that I've never, ever had ever, maybe the comfortable and familiar isn't necessarily going to get me there, you know? Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Use your intuition and discernment. But with this being like an 8, it feels like it encompasses the entirety of attraction and aversion. Like it takes all things into consideration, but it does so with a historical context. It makes me think of The Glass of God. I decided to stop watching that show this season. I'm just gonna like after the season is over, I'm gonna finish it later. There are a few shows that I wait. Like there are some shows I watch while they're airing, and there are some shows I'll start while they're airing, and then I'll finish it at a later date, so I can just watch the whole thing if I remember to. But anyway, it gives me the energy of like in Lucifer when God made Maz her favorite drink. And she's like, that's not my favorite drink. I've never had that drink. And then she tries the drink and she was like, it's pretty good. Like, that's the 8 of it. Like, with the historical context, we only know why we're attracted or averse to something based upon our experiences in the past and our projections of the future. Now, if we were to take arrows to like the 9 or the 10, then we get to incorporate some of that, the things that we're averse or attracted to that we haven't even yet experienced. But at the 8, it's almost like it's difficult to incorporate that because it's more focused on building a complete understanding of the environment that or like the situation that we're in, which again, it's progressive. At some point, maybe the character, beyond realizing that they're in a story, they have the thought, well, like, let me try to communicate with the author, you know? Anyway, so abundance number 15 was number 10. So I kind of love this because it means that this abundance, like if this is a debt, this abundance is enough to pay out a debt, close out those financial chapters, but also begin or start something new. Now that's interesting because our first non-Pluto challenge was no. Anyway, so in the non-Pluto challenges, I think I saw, what was it? The Nine of Pentacles. There was some Pentacles card I looked at like all the time. And it was like your challenge is to open a chest and collect 470 gold pieces. And it's like, girl, wait. My challenge is to collect a check. Okay. Like, like my challenge is to get paid, get money. Oh my gosh, how will I manage? I think I'll tough it out somehow. I think I can be brave. Um, but yeah, this abundance, and even the King of Pentacles, the clarifier, or the alternate path, because the bridge sort of leads between the two, or the bridge is this intermediary. Even in the bridge, we see like this bridge and then we see the higher bridge. And it's not, this isn't higher or lower, again, in terms of scale, in terms of scope, in terms of anything necessarily like logistical or airy. We have fire and water here with the Queen of Wands, no air. Um, it's like it's personal. And again, like either way, we're gonna be good. Like there's no, but it just seems like either way will be good. Excuse me, but yeah, I think even so, like financially, yes. But if we could take the financial aspect of like debt and investing into the future or starting a new venture, and we apply it to the emotional or the intellectual, like this abundance helps us close out a period of thinking or feeling a certain type of way, of being limited, of being trapped in that eight. And it bridges us into, I mean, like this is the 10. The 10 is our first step into the world of the authors. Like there's this one show where they're basically in a video game and they get trapped in the game. But in this other game, there's a character in the game that gets the opportunity to incarnate into real life. And so not only does she have the opportunity to like converse with and like whatever, meet her creator, but she also gets the chance to live in the world that the creator lives in. And it's just like that. The first step on the other side is what this 10 is feeling like, and it's abundance. I think the importance of that abundance too is to leave like limiting mindsets and stuff like that behind. To know that it may not serve in the ways that it used to, and again, like they're limiting. And so, like, let's say that there are opportunities and chances that we don't even take because, well, you know, back at my old school, we never did this. And back at my old school, we never did that. And at my old school, it's like, oh, well, at your old school, apparently you didn't have a magic school bus. Okay. Now, this energy actually kind of sort of came out recently. I feel like it was in that last live. I remembered and then I forgot. It was like, yeah, it was that energy of like being in the present and future focus versus being in the present and past focus. Because sometimes when we focus too heavily on the past, it stops us from, it's like it's this basis of gratitude and appreciation, but it's a gratitude and appreciation that leads to a stagnation. It's that like I should be grateful just to have this. I should be grateful just to have that. I am so grateful and appreciative of what I have now. I couldn't dare ask for or wish for or manifest anything more because then that would make me selfish or greedy or whatever. And depending upon the circumstance, maybe yes. But in that circumstance and in this one, kind of sort of like no, because this, again, like the bridge isn't where you stop. And even when this book closes, there are more volumes like that are planned, and there are volumes that have already been written. Like it's a story in this saga that spans entire libraries. Apparently, I really got to go to the restroom. I'm gonna go to the restroom. I'll be right back. I don't have my BRB screen on my laptop, so you'll just have to deal with the OBS logo. Fine. That's fine. Oof. All right, I'm back. I totally had a thought that I totally lost. Oh, yeah. So in term, it's because like we literally see the Queen of Wands fly off of her throne, um, and it feels like that's why like the Queen of Wands can choose to sit on her throne and rule. Also, like we see the dragonfly up here emerging from the flower as if the flower were the water that the nymph lives in. You know, old Russillian. I feel like I haven't heard him mention the dragonfly in a while. But like the Queen of Wands is her nymph phase. Like the Queen of Wands is the caterpillar to this metaphorical butterfly. But again, like it's very easy for that's why like this eight feels like it's on the side of it's beyond the comfort zone, but it's like immediately beyond it. It's not deep into what this Queen of Wands can ultimately become. Like this isn't even her final form, you know, type energy. The Queen of Wands is actually number 15. Now, 15 in tarot is the devil. 15 here is abundance. So I guess 15 in the Rider Waite Smith, traditional, maybe even the other one, the Thoth or Toth or Todd or Tote. I don't know. Um, I feel like that speaks to if it is devil energy, it just speaks to how easy it is to allow the power and position of the Queen of Wands to get to someone's head. This is the point where it almost turns. It has a potential to turn. I think I'm actually going to do the same here. So 6, no, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yup. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. This is the 15th card from the bottom. The High Priestess. So it feels like at this Queen of Wands, something has the potential to stagnate and almost turn sour. Um, and I guess that would essentially be like big fish in a small pond type energy. Instead of the big fish moving to a bigger body of water and feeling like a small fish again, or risking feeling like a small fish again, it chooses to remain a big fish in a small pond. Like that would be the Queen of Wands that chooses to continue to rule in whatever way she has found some kind of power rather than risking being subjected to someone else if she were to like go somewhere else. And so she almost kind of twists and distorts. Like that would be her choosing to stay out of a fear of something in the future rather than her choosing to stay because it's what she wants to do. And there's a difference. And then, again, like the only reason why I really point out that difference is because of how sour this energy feels like it could get. Like to remain out of fear is not the same as remaining because that's what one truly desires to do. Maybe the person who has that community um, charity. Hey, David, how you doing? Maybe they could go global. Maybe they could be on the same scale that the global charity is or was, but maybe they choose not to because if they were to make their organization any bigger, it would put them in a position that would separate them or distance them further and further and further from the impact. And maybe it's important to them to have a certain degree of involvement or whatever. And you could say, well, like, oh, like they could always hire people to do this or to do that so they could stay involved if they choose to upscale. Like it doesn't have to be that just because it gets larger, they're further and further away. Like, yeah, we could say that, but maybe it would. And maybe they know that. Maybe when you have a larger and larger scale company, it's hard to know who's working for you. And maybe an important part of the work for them is also the people that they work with and knowing who they work with, right? It's almost like it's giving me like the reason why LLCs exist, the reason why LLCs exist. And one of my classes, it was the senior seminar. We had someone come in, she who actually became our business advisor, which was kind of cool. She's written like 26 books. Speaking of 26, so she had written 24 books, was finishing the 25th, and had already started the 26th book when I saw her. And then I was like, will you be our financial advisor? And she said yes. Oh my gosh, she was amazing. Love her. I think I still remember her name. And I remember her name because her last name is the name of this emoji. And I never knew what it, I was like, what is that? What does that mean? Anyway. Um, but basically, like an LLC is a limited liability company. So let's say that you go into business with someone, it's you and someone else, and that someone else does something very like shady and unscrupulous. with the business. Like, if you're not in a limited liability situation, you are also held liable for the dealings of your business partners. And so, if that's something that you had no idea about, you would never endorse, like, you're still held liable. And so, you still have to pay whatever, your reputation suffers the same damage, whatever. And it's like, it's like in the realm of things that one would never do. But because they went into business with someone else, they're also now held responsible, even though they had no idea. Now, with a limited liability company or an LLP, limited liability partnership, like, your liability is limited for what the other partners or owners in the LLC or LLP does. So it's protection in that way. But anyway, it's like maybe that's why someone prefers to keep something small. Maybe the intimacy of it is also something that's important. And if it was too big, then they wouldn't be able to like show up in the ways that they want to show up. And so that would be staying on the throne, but not because one has a fear of like, well, what if my organization can't compete in the larger global market and then my charity goes bankrupt and I lose all this money to the point that I can't even help the people that I want to help them. Like, it's different. Choosing to remain because of fear is very different than choosing to remain because that's what one genuinely desires and chooses. Now, with the high priestess here, I'm looking at her face. She almost looks a little disgusted. Maybe I'm projecting on the artwork. But it's almost like, see, because the Queen of Wands, again, she ascends off of the throne in the beauty way. But maybe if she sours at the Queen of Wands and becomes susceptible to that devil energy, like that 15 devil energy rather than this 15 abundance energy, then that's when the high priestess that was going to offer the Queen of Wands some kind of invitation to go beyond, that's when it's almost like rescinded. Like, she's putting it back in her pocket. She's like, ew, like, mm-mm. No, it's fine. And again, it's just like, it is my personal belief that we don't have to exist in the absence of fear, in the absence of doubt, that we have to be these whatever. But even with the Queen of Wands, with the black cat like at her side, it's to not allow fear and not allow doubt and not allow worry and not allow anxiety to stop us from progressing in whatever ways that we wish to or in whatever ways that it's for us to. And there's something about this beauty way. Like, it's like it would be hard for the beauty way to be beautiful if it were like riddled with fear and anxiety and worry and all of this other stuff. Like, fear, anxiety, worry, those are feelings that are big enough to color one's perception, like in real time. Um, like, if someone's fearful of something or anxious about something or worried about something, they could see things as they are not. And depending on the magnitude of that fear, worry, anxiety, etc., and depending on the degree of aversion to, I guess, depending on the degree of impact of those feelings, something could turn, again, like, it's almost giving me not Gru, Goob. It's almost giving me Goob from Meet the Robinsons. Like, after he misses a catch because he fell asleep because his roommate kept him up all night, and he was like, "I blew the big game. Everybody hated me. My life after that game was a mess." And like there's a scene of him like walking through the hallway in school, like super gloomy, and everyone's like, "Hey Goob, like how you doing? How was your weekend?" Like his reality was not reflective of what was actually happening. But it's because of how he felt about himself in that moment that kept him from seeing, hearing that people like other people didn't think of him in the way that he thought of himself. To everybody else, it was a random little league game that had like girl, like you know what I mean? Like we get that it's important to you because you're on the team and like you were the one that like could have made that catch because you were right there, but you fell asleep. But like to the rest of the world, it's like, life goes on, mistakes happen, you're a child, where no one's perfect. Like but like that's what some of those feelings like they have the power to override what it is that's actually happening. So we could already be in the beauty way, but because of our own mental internal processings, like not even realize or not even recognize it. So who's to say that the Queen of Wands won't get up off of her throne either way? But in one case, like she'll see it, recognize it, in the other, she won't. I don't know. Hey Chastity, how you doing today? The beauty way was number 17. 17 is the number of the star. It's interesting that we don't have any 20s. Now, 17, like sometimes I'll do like the tens place as the heavenly, ethereal, extraordinary, behind the scenes, and the ones place as the 3D natural material. If it's like hundreds, tens, ones, then the hundreds maybe like mental, tens is no, hundreds is spiritual, tens is mental, the whatever. That's not the case today. So, in this beauty way being the 17. So, this is the space where the divine is. Because again, something about abundance being the 10, it put us 1 foot on the other side. Now, this 15 can be with or not even 1 foot on the 10 because there's a zero in the ones place. It could be both feet on the other side. Like it is a queen that comes immediately after the abundance. So, but maybe this one is like we're in this new whatever the new phase of life that abundance brings us into. And there are some changes that we're sort of facing. So then maybe it's our relationship with change that comes in. Again, like with the fear of like, well, like I'm a big fish now. Like, if I'm moving into this new pond where I'm gonna have more room, then I'm assuming that there are even like potentially even bigger fish there. And like I didn't necessarily gulp gulp eat down whatever bully the small fish in my pond, but I don't know how the big fish over there are going to respond, and I don't want to risk being a small fish right now at this point in my life. Like there are changes that are going to be happening or changes that are happening in the physical material, and so it's the degree of not even the degree of acceptance, but kind of sort of there's something where we can go along with the changes and it can work out better or not. Right, like that's the 15. It's 1 in the spiritual whatever, and it's a 5 in the material. Now the 17 is for us to be again in this new phase and realize that there's even more. Because it's the 1 in the physical, no, 1 in the spiritual, ethereal other side, and a 7 in the material. And again, with that 7, it's like we've gone past the 5 to see again like there's something where there's volumes or there's stages or even here with the dragonfly like there are stages to this, and sometimes in order for us to get a greater and greater and greater understanding, It involves, okay, that's not my mom. Uh, it involves like multiple like breakthroughs, or like there are multiple things that we have to understand and put into context before we're ready to like put other things into context. Um, like it's just you know. So I don't have this set up where like I'm on my laptop, so I don't have it set up that way, unfortunately. But I'm glad you have an understanding. So then we get to the book. The book is number 37. So we go from the 17 of the beauty way to the 37 of, oh, we go from 4 to 26. 26 is an 8. We go from 4 to 8. This is because the 17 is a 4, the phrase where true comfort lies comes to mind. It's almost like there is a difference between us being comfortable in our comfort zones and comfort. Like I'm thinking like Venusian Empress, like comfort, like living in comfort versus like living in one's comfort zone. Like they're completely different. And maybe true comfort doesn't lie anywhere that we've like been, or true comfort like as grateful and appreciative as we can be in the moment. And it's not for us to be insatiable. It's not for us to not have gratitude or appreciation, but it's to not allow for that gratitude and appreciation to keep us from progressing further still. Because again, that's not where our true comfort lies. The divine has more planned for us, has more in store for us. There is more that is destined for us, type energy. The 37 is interesting. 37 is also a 10, and we have the 10 of Pentacles right there. Um, but the 37 is interesting because the spirit, energetic, vibrational is at a 3, and we're at a 7. Like it feels like there is an invisible hundreds place. And remember, it was like the principalities that govern the governing principles, like the 37, the 10 was starting to like learn what those are, to dive into those governing principles and to really gather, assemble an understanding of what those governing principles are. And then at the 8 we start to learn how to use those governing principles to our benefit. Right. So to see the abundance coming out as an 8, no, abundance was 10. It was Eros that was the 8. To see like Eros even at the 8, where we can find more and more and more of what we're attracted to and navigate away from more and more and more so that we experience less and less and less of what we're averse to. Like that's getting the rules to work for you. That's the 8. And I feel like that it lines up with the abundance that an 8 is. I was gonna say abundance, but it's fine. I feel like that lines up with the 8, or the abundance of the 8, but also why it kind of sort of, to me at least, still feels like a trap. Because it's easy to get comfortable in abundance, especially if abundance to us is a measure of like wealth or whatever. Um, But so that was like in the 10, 15, 17 was us sort of getting comfortable or gathering an understanding and knowing, creating an understanding of the governing principles. But at the 37, it's breaching the world of those principalities, the principalities that govern the governing principles. Or it takes understanding beyond the governing principles. It's almost like if we learn the laws of physics, the spiritual physical laws that govern this reality, like that would be the 10, 15, 17. But when we start to question, like, why was it created that way? Or what about these fundamental, whatever, like, not only because I feel like the 10, 15, 17 is like, how does that fundamental lead? How do these fundamental principles lead to the creation of whatever? But it's like it asks questions beyond in some kind of way. And for the other side to be at the 3 and 37, like there's some, like 3 is a number, it's a catalytic number. I think that just plays into it was the Queen of Wands. And it was that energy of like, not only does she benefit from whatever environment situation that she's going into, not only is she validated and her confidence in herself validated, but there's something that the company organization, person, people that she works with, they also benefit in some way. So at the 37 with this book, this would be like spirit benefiting from our experience, from our existence, from our cooperation and collaboration, rather than us being the only ones that benefit. I went to the divine and the divine did this to me, and I'm grateful and I'm appreciative. But again, like something about this just it goes further. There's an appreciation or a learning or an understanding. There's something that the divine also gets out of this cooperation at the 37. And it's a secret. Like the book is closed. Like, you know, even with that metaphor that came out with Metatron and Enoch. Metatron doesn't know why God looked at Enoch and invited him to the heavenly host. Like God only knows, like literally. And again, like when I said that, it was in a way of like, there is no necessarily concrete, if you do this and this and this and that, then you will get to this point where you too will be invited to the heavenly host, or well, you will ascend your Queen of Wands throne to what, like, that's something that only the author knows. We can read the story, we can read the entirety of one's life and the environment and know all of the nitty gritty details behind it. And we can glean, we can make inferences, we can create postulates, hypotheses, assumptions based upon our understanding. But it's like only the author knows, only the creator really knows. But our intuition guides us, our discernment directs us. So cool. An hour and a half out of this video that I thought would be like 20 minutes. Why? When I continue to do more and more and more and more, I don't know. I guess it's interesting that the 37 isn't 8. It's a 26 8, but it's also like a 10. Excuse me. And 37 is 10, which is a 1. Maybe it's like it's a new level of cooperation between the divine and mankind. Girl, I don't know. Who knows? But I guess, like, if I think of it as an experiment, there are times when, at the conclusion of the experiment, where the conductor may ask questions like, what was your experience like? Is there anything that could have been like done better? Blah, 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 blah. You know, like this is probably taken like wildly out of context. But like before Jesus came, like let's say that there were people who lived there, like before Jesus came, there were a lot of people in hell. Like it was hard to get into heaven before Jesus. Um, so maybe like at the end of their lives, there were like, I don't know if somebody was looking at the numbers, like, why is it that people aren't getting into heaven anymore? Or if there were conversations and God was like, okay, well, let me send Jesus to earth to like validate if it's really like as bad as folks are saying down there. And then Jesus came down and he was like, yeah. Everything, girl, it was an understatement. It's worse because you gotta live it when you're in it, you know maybe potentially it's almost like something, not necessarily that, but like that is an example of where collaboration between, it's almost like if the author could have a chance to speak to their characters and be like, well, how can I build a better world like for you, you know what I mean? Because, and I don't know if this is like the bots of the matrix type of whatever, where it's like how like sometimes when you interact with people and it's just like, why is everybody like this, or like what is going on today that everyone was like short and snippy and rude? And so maybe the character goes like, I would have loved to like run into more people in this world that you built that weren't so whatever. I don't know, girl. At this point it's all theory, hypothesis. Maybe it ain't even that deep. I'm a Pisces. Maybe I take a lot of stuff a lot deeper than it necessarily has to be. But like that three is giving me, maybe it's all the threes: the three of pentacles, the three of wands, the three of swords, and the three of cups. It's three of swords in a way that maybe we talk about like things that didn't work out or how tough and how difficult it was. It's the three of cups because we're coming in a space, in a sense of like camaraderie and acceptance. And it's the three of wands because there's an outcome, there's a theory, a way to like make something better. And it's the three of pentacles because it's accomplished through collaboration, right? So anyway, this would be a lot of decks to get final cards from, but I guess I'm gonna shuffle them away anyway, so I'll do it. Small wonders are all around you. Open your eyes was the fortune. I guess we kind of sort of got into what those small wonders. It's almost like the small wonders would be the breadcrumbs that lead us to whatever they're leading us to. But also how easy it is to miss these small wonders. Ooh. All right. Ooh, look at that. Ace of Cups. The Ace of Water. This Water Dragon. I almost grabbed the Star Dragons. But I was like, nah. If I grabbed the Star Dragons, then I wouldn't have the Lenormand. Because I grabbed the Lenormand instead of the Star Dragons. Is that my number one fan? I feel like I'm kind of sort of preferring, in a way, almost going to the gym later in the day. Like, I mean, I like it because I guess I'm more awake than earlier in the morning. I don't like it when it's like busy. And it's kind of wild when it's like 8 o'clock. Because then I feel like I'm at the gym with the people who are serious, And I'm like, oof. This is just where I could fit it in my day today. I am not one of you 8 o'clock still in the gym people, but maybe I want to be, and maybe that's okay. If only desiring to work out could burn actual calories. Where did that card go? I feel like a card fell out. Oh, here it is. It's the Fool. Look at that. Perfect energy. Bottom of the deck is the Four of Cups. Five of Cups at the cut. The Four and the Five of Cups is the Nine of Cups. I'm trying not to bend these too much. These are like gloss, not super glossy. I feel like they're a little mossy. Like they're a combination of matte and glossy. So they kind of like stick a little interestingly. The Sacrifice and the Jaguar. I guess I'll get my final card from this deck first. The Wild Woman and the Sacrifice. Oh, the Jaguar. That's the black cat that we saw. The Staff and the Wild Woman with the Queen of Wands. All right. The Queen of Wands also had a staff. She had a staff and a Jaguar. All right. Mystical Shaman, Oracle cards. Will you be the first? We'll give it 3 shuffles. Nope. All right. Dreams of Gaia Tarot. I'll do the same. I guess I'll keep going through these. Healing. Healing body, mind. Healing body / mind. Look, there's a man with the staff. We just talked about the staff. I wonder if this 37, the 37 being the 10 being the 8, in this healing the body and mind, maybe it's one of those like when the body and the mind are on the same page, that's when we breach as if it's an intrusion. That's when we brush up against the realm of the divine. And it's almost like when the body and the mind are in disharmony. That's fine. All right. 1, 2. Oh, no. I'll give it 2 more. 1, 2. Okay. Like 5 cards almost flipped over. I was like, nah. But I'll compensate you with 2 more shuffles. So, not that deck. Let's move to the. I guess I'm going to be doing this for however long. The Astral Matrix Tarot. Are you going to be the first? I mean, you did kind of spit out the Fool already. 1, 2, 3. What is this? You see that? These cards sticking up? No. But I will compensate with 2 more. Not this deck either. I'm kind of drawn to Lenormand, but I'm avoiding it. I don't want to. Maybe that's why I'm just like shuffling. Maybe these just want to be mixed up. The Vessel and the Medallion. That's interesting. The Vessel and the Medallion is interesting because the vessel isn't necessarily always full. Or how full is the vessel? The Vessel and the Medallion, it can be one of those like even when someone didn't have anything to give, they gave anyway. And that's deserving of something, some kind of recognition type energy. All right. Oop. One. Can you hear the construction noises starting? Two. Three. Nope, not this one either. Guess I'll start with the Lenormand. We started with the Lenormand. We're going to end with the Lenormand. One. I think a card already flipped over. Oop. Okay. Two. Yeah, it did. The Clouds. I accidentally pulled a card. I'm going to leave this card face down, actually. The Clouds came out and I accidentally pulled with it a face down card. It flipped over inside the deck on the first shuffle. And then the bouquet and the dice. 9 and 39. Now, this is interesting because if we do this to that, the numbers are the same. Giving Cancerian energy, 69. We've seen it. So there's something about the Clouds, something about the 69 being Cancer, the Chariot being the card of Cancer, the light and the dark and the clouds with the bouquet. Like there's a beauty in the delicate balance of light and dark. And it feels like the dice, like this is taking a chance on whether or not we'll recognize that beauty. I looked at it, okay? I looked at it. All right, see ya, Holly. No problem. I'll show you because it doesn't matter. The card on the other side is the mountain. Mountains symbolize challenges and stuff like that. 21 3 369. Oh my gosh. Literally. So 21 6 9 39. 39 is 12. 12 is the mirror to 21, which is also a 3. This is 3 6s and 9s. Threes, 6 and 9. And again, the fact that the mountain was behind the clouds, it's the same energy. It's like it's a risk or it's a gamble on whether or not we'll see, notice, appreciate the delicate balance of light and dark, whether we can be grateful and appreciative of the mountains in our lives, of the challenges in our lives, but also the boundaries. Like there are challenges, mountains that we overcome, and then there are challenges, mountains that we don't overcome. Or that it would be advisable for us to not overcome. Like, have you ever thought that you wanted something only to find out that you didn't? Have you ever fought the universe to get something that it was seemingly working and conspiring against you to not have, only to find out that maybe you should have listened? Maybe if it was that hard to get, it wasn't worth having. Like, can we see, can we acknowledge, can we appreciate the light, the dark, the ups and downs, the challenges? But it feels like it's more so like the delicacy of it. I don't know how many situations are necessarily delicate, you know, delicate because it's almost like um, how we can go through certain things and not be broken, but still emerge victorious. And it's like, girl, well, sometimes things do break. So, so delicate wear. Um, but also sometimes we can look at harrowing experiences of the past. We can look at things that we would think we'd never overcome, only to realize that somehow at some point and in some way we did. And it's because we overcame them that we have something now that we didn't have before. I like laugh because my brain goes like trauma. Yeah, I can appreciate the trauma that I have from that traumatic experience. Thanks. And I can gladly say that I'd rather live my life without the trauma from those traumatic experiences. So glad I had that thing I didn't have before. What would my life be without trauma? It's like, girl, say less. Too real. All right, three more. Ooh, who was this? This little acrobat. Like it flew up and landed, jutting out of the deck, face down. Oh, we have the Queen of Earth. We saw the King of Earth before. We see another character with yet another staff. It's Wisdom, which is 10. This deck gave us the 10th card. Or this deck was, the 10th card came from this deck, and the 10th card was Abundance. Now number 10 is coming out as Wisdom. And the bottom of the deck is the Queen of Earth. Seeds and flowers, seeds, flowers, and fruit all accomplish the same purpose: reproduction. Um, so I guess like going back to the metaphor earlier, like if the character can meet the author, and if they could go, like when I lived in your world, I ran into quite a few characters that, like, while I can recognize it was good for my growth and progression and my hero's journey or whatever, would I have traded the trauma for a more pleasurable experience? Maybe. Like that, like the characters in the story, like could have been a little nicer in the world that you built and created for me to like whatever through or in. Um, so the response to that, like the logical conclusion, I guess, from that line of questioning or from that specific piece of feedback to the author from the character would be like, oh, okay, so I need to introduce more characters into my world that run counter the narrative that progressed the story that I was doing before. And so it's like that's why the seeds are featured in this Queen of Earth. Like the divine has received some kind of feedback, but like it starts on Earth. It makes sense because this is the setting of the story. Something along that line. And maybe the wisdom, I don't know if there was a period of the divine looking for, asking for, taking feedback in a way that I don't. Maybe the divine is like always taking feedback. I don't know. But it's again, it's like, well, we have the wisdom to see the seeds of the things that we've been asking for. Small wonders are all around you. Open your eyes. Well, we have the wisdom to see the small wonders in our lives that are the seeds of the big changes that we've been hoping for, wishing for, manifesting. Like stars in the dark. Interesting. I should have just went for that deck at first. But then I guess we wouldn't have discovered all those other goodies along the way, like the wild woman and the staff and the jaguar and healing and stuff. Like the Lenormand was like, I'm ready to talk. I'm like, girl, not yet. Does anyone else want to answer the question? Woo. Next, the mystical shaman oracle cards, the Rainmaker and the Sorcerer. The Rainmaker and the Sorcerer came out together some other point at some other time. And for me, it was like the Rainmaker knows the practice, the Sorcerer knows the science. Like the Rainmaker is the one that's like, when I do this and I do that, then it rains. And the Sorcerer is like, well, that's, because of this and that and whatever else. We got our cards. The Vision Quest came out, number 60. The bottom of the deck is the Jaguar. Jaguar 28 and 27, the Hunter is right behind it. So take this as it resonates. I'm looking at it feels like the Hunter is, and then 61, and then the Sorcerer is right behind. So water is one beyond the Vision Quest. We literally saw the Seer and water at the cut when I started this. Now we have water in the Vision Quest. And then we have the 28, 27, one moving back, one moving forward. It feels like, so at first I see the Jaguar at the bottom of the deck with the Vision Quest. And I'm like, ooh, the Jaguar is about to take us on a Vision Quest. Girl, better buckle up. But then I see the Hunter. And the cards create this line of thinking in my mind. The cards tell me this story in my head that may not be true or resonate at all. And I was like, do I say it? I'm going to say it. It's almost like the Jaguar is the giver of certain visions. The shadow that lives within us. Not only is it the holder of traumas that we wish not relive, thoughts that we wish not think, fears and stuff like that, but it also holds something of the future. Because sometimes we can fear our own potential or we can fear our own greatness. Sometimes we can fear life being brighter than our capacity to receive. And in those cases and circumstances and instances, then the shadow also holds on to those. And the shadow is also the holder of futures brighter than our eyes are capable of seeing. And so the Hunter of the Jaguar is almost, again, this could whatever, but the Hunter of the Jaguar is like all of this love and light. The Hunter of the Jaguar is anything that remedies a malady by extracting the Jaguar. And it's like the self feels better for the Jaguar going missing or for the Jaguar being removed, because who wants that weight and that heaviness and that dark cloud eternally looming over them? But again, the Jaguar is the holder of this vision of the future. So the person thinks that the Hunter is providing them a service for ridding them of the Jaguar. But in reality, the Jaguar is robbing the person of their vision or of their ability to go on this vision quest. So it's actually quite sinister. But with us being the ailing populace, like it's, who wants that? And maybe that's why it was like, can we appreciate the delicate balance of light and dark. Because maybe when we don't, we find someone to extract it and we lose more than we think. But maybe it's not that. All right. Queen of Wands. No, sorry. Queen of Pentacles, Page of Pentacles. At the cut, we're moving on to the Astro Matrix Tarot. Are you ready to speak now? 4 shuffles, because I'm feeling it. 2, 3. Is it going to come out on this 4th shuffle? Nope. Moving on to the wild unknown archetypes. We have the river and the thread. At the cut. The river and the thread. The river and the thread is giving me scuba energy, like a lifeline. Where is my number 1 fan? She's had a project that she's been working on this weekend. I guess it's going into the week now. All right. So we're just going to keep upping the ante, I guess. We'll do 5 shuffles. I feel like I should do 4 and 4. So I'll do 4. Ooh. Oh, it flipped back over. I saw the ring. 1. Ooh. 2. Look at that. 3. Ooh, there we go. And the 4th, just for funsies. Oh, goodness. I ended up getting a lot more than I bargained for. 1 card turned into 6 math. Yeah, 6. 1 card turned into math cards. So first the seed came out, kind of in reverse. But are there reversals in this deck? The seed is number 66, LX 60 VI 6, number 66, the seed. Bottom of the deck is number 32, the cave. And also behind the cave is the storm. The cave is shelter in the storm. See, this seed is interesting. So, oh, well, no problem. I've missed you too. I know I feel like I'm low key, like, for those of y'all who have been around for a minute, the longer you have been here on this channel, the more you have heard me say, I don't necessarily plan on like being here forever. So as soon as this muggle thing starts muggling, I'm hoping that the muggle so much that I can just be a muggle, you know. I am taking the Rare Gazelles collective reading to be my validation. It is okay for me to want to muggle and not have to be all of this other stuff that I could be if I wanted to, but if I have to, if it's a benefit, if I see it being a benefit or a service, then of course. But I feel like one of the reasons why I really started using this channel is because I felt like there were things that warranted saying. And I don't know, I feel like things have progressed in a way that, not that I ever necessarily felt needed, but there were things that I wasn't hearing at the time. And for me, that was my impetus to start speaking. So that's not to say that no one was saying whatever, but because I wasn't hearing it, I thought it should be said. But now I'm hearing it. So I don't have to say anything. I can muggle in peace. You know what I mean? I can muggle with a clear conscience. So here's to hoping that the muggling gets good. Anyway. But yeah, I'm here for now. But like yesterday, I was gonna go live. I was like, nah. Today I was gonna go live. I brought my laptop in here, and then I was like, And then all the noise started, and I was like, okay, I'll go live because I guess I'm obnoxious like that. But then I went live and the noise stopped. This seed could be many things. For some reason, like a seed of worry or a seed of doubt is what came to mind. And then I see the cave and I see the storm outside the cave. But because the storm is outside the cave, because this is a place of comfort, this could also be a seed of hope. This could be a seed of anything. The seed is just a seed. Maybe that's the point. Maybe it goes back to that whole like I don't personally believe that we have to exist without fear and doubt and worry, but we do it does benefit us to get to the point where our doubts, worries, and fears don't stop us from doing whatever it is that we need to do or that we wish to do. And so this is like a seed of doubt, a seed of worry, a seed of fear doesn't grow into anything unless we tend to it. Just like the two wolves that are inside of us. The wolf that wins is the wolf that we feed. The presence of a seed in and of itself is both nothing and everything. The presence of a seed of hope in a time of darkness is everything. The presence of a seed of fear in the day and those brighter and brighter days that, the last deck mentioned, it doesn't have to be anything because it's just a seed. As long as it doesn't grow into anything that is invasive, that changes the ecology of the environment, then it's fine. But sometimes we want environments to be invaded. Sometimes we want the ecology to change. If we're in the dark and we want it to be brighter, we welcome the invasion of the light. You know, it's all relative and subjective. Then we have the stone in reverse, gnosis in reverse, the gem in reverse, and agape in reverse. Now, gnosis and agape aren't in reverse technically because they can't be, but everything else is. So they're in reverse by association. And then we also have thanatos. We have three of the seven, um, whatever Kim calls it in the book. Three of the seven phases of the journey of the soul. This is actually interesting, though. All three of these play, I don't want to say they play a similar role, but all three of these items, the seed, the stone, and the gem, can exist in the same story. Excuse me. Like the seed can be seen as the stone if we call it a dud. Like it's a dud. It was a stone. But the stone could be a gem if it wasn't a dud, but the environment wasn't conducive to its growth. We assume that the seed is a stone because we couldn't get it to grow. Sometimes the seed is a stone, sometimes the stone is a gem. Sometimes the seed is a gem. And I guess that's this journey here. That's how it came out. The stone, gnosis, the gem, agape. Maybe we think, oh, like the seed was a dud, it's just a stone. But then we come into this, maybe it's like a seven energy, knowing like, oh my gosh, like maybe it wasn't a dud. Like maybe we're growing azaleas, and azaleas have to be in nitrogen rich soil or something. I don't remember what the Farmer's Almanac Daily whatever was, but like azaleas thrive in a certain type of environment, soil environment. So you can give something all the water and sunshine you would think it would need, but if the soil isn't right, it's not going to grow. And also it was like the color of the petals can determine how much of whatever was present in the soil. The gnosis is it's an understanding that maybe there's something in the environment that we hadn't considered. And so that gets us to go, maybe the stone was actually like maybe the seed wasn't a dud. But beyond that, if the seed requires these things to grow, that means that this seed is a seed of something that I wasn't considering. But if I introduce this to the environment and it grows, that means that this seed could be the last seed of this extinct species of flora on planet Earth. And I could literally bring it back if it grows in this soil. And maybe lo and behold, girl, it grows. Oh my gosh, what? You've brought back the dodo of beech trees that had the most nutritionally dense fruit that was out there. Maybe the fruit was so nutritionally dense, like maybe that's what led to the tree's extinction. Like the animals could not wait to get that fruit, so they started eating the leaves. And then they started eating the bark, and before you knew it, they started eating the seeds for the trees too. It was so good, it went extinct. And it wasn't an animal. Imagine. So, sorry. Anyway, so because that's the case, there has to be some kind of understanding, right? Like if we want something to continue to exist and to thrive and to grow, then moderation may be key. But whatever this thing is, like Thanatos came out sort of like on its own, separate from the other four. And Thanatos from the thread is interesting because it's like a web. Um, I don't know. It's like I don't know if this seed, because if the seed is a gem, I wouldn't be surprised if it has the potential to grow into something that will literally shift the boundaries of life and death, girl. Maybe it's some kind of miracle cure. I don't know. Or maybe this life and death is more um, mental, emotional, like the financial debt. If it were like mental, emotional debt rather than like financial debt, like it has the power. If we could see this one thing, if we could see this stone of a seed turn into this gem, then maybe it's almost like, what else were we wrong about? What else has the possibility to become precious in the presence of love? Agape. And this is agape. This ain't that eros stuff. Not that there's anything necessarily wrong with eros stuff, but this is agape. Interesting. But it took the storm to find it. And it took us seeking the shelter of the cave in the storm to realize it. Can we appreciate that delicate balance between light and dark? Okay. I think I put all the cards at the bottom of the deck and then I flipped it over. Usually, like, I put the cards away so that I see the final card, but now this is a mystery. Okay. I just put it in reverse. This is Thanatos. I just turned them face down. All right, Astro Matrix Tarot. It's been 2 hours and 13 minutes and 16 seconds. It's time for you to speak now. So I'm just going to shuffle until something comes out. The Three of Swords and the Four of Pentacles. 3 plus 4 is a 7. But that is a rough 7. What's a good 7? Like a 3 of Wands, 4 of Swords, maybe? And Ace of Cups, Six of Wands, Ace of anything, Six of Swords, Six of Pentacles, maybe Six of Cups, Six of Wands, Ace of anything, Six of pretty much anything would be a good seven. Threes and fours get a little dicey. Twos and fives. I mean, unless you go from like the Five of Pentacles to the Two of Cups, that would be a decent seven. I feel like the five would have to come first, though. I mean, not necessarily, because can I appreciate the balance, the delicate balance of light and dark? The Two of Pentacles and the Five of Swords, which honestly, in a way, kind of sort of could work. If the Two of Pentacles is almost this analysis paralysis, I can't decide, like I'm juggling so many things, and the Five of Swords is like, you know what? We're gonna do this one thing, and we're gonna do it until it's completion, and then when it's done, we're gonna keep doing it. Maybe for somebody's stuck, that could be like, that could be a good seven. It's like, oh my gosh, thank you. I never would have ever made a choice or decision. I would have been at that crossroads until my last day. Thank you, Five of Swords. I don't know. Everything is a matter of perspective, I guess. All right. Astro. Ooh, I saw the King of Cups. Okay. Like either come out or don't. Like this sitting on top of the cards outside of the deck thing is getting old. Somebody flipped over. Who is it? The Six of Swords. Bottom of the deck is the Four of Swords. I literally saw the Ten of Swords when I was done talking about the Two of Pentacles, Five of Swords thing. I glanced at the Ten of Swords at the bottom of the deck. I was like, we'll keep it moving. A 6-4-10. The Queen of Pentacles is behind that Four of Swords. This could literally be someone like dreaming. If someone is the type of person that dreams of solution or dreams of prophecy or dreams of the future, like it would be this energy. Like the knight goes home, the soldier goes home, and when he's resting, as well as a knight in at war can rest. So he's still fully dressed and got the sword right there in case he got to get up in the middle of the night. But as he's sleeping, he's almost like dreaming of ways to end conflict, dreaming of ways to reach a sort of peace that will take him off the battlefield. Like that's the energy. In dream, the solution arrives. Jupiter in Libra trine Mercury in Aquarius. Because this is Mercury in Aquarius, it may be things that people don't consider, aren't considering, would never consider, both in terms of like what we wouldn't think of, but also like what we wouldn't give the time of day. Like I would never do that level of like consideration versus like, oh, I never thought about that. Like I had never considered that type of consideration. It feels new. It feels like revolutionary. And Jupiter in Libra is interesting because it feels like Jupiter in Libra could be an energy that's like we've explored every possibility in relation to this whatever. Like we've weighed and weighed and weighed our options. We've held up the scales of many scales. We've compared the pros and cons, the worth, the value, in all kinds of ways. And we've come up with nothing to end this eternal conflict. But the soldier that's like fighting the fight, boots on the ground, in the character in the story, has some kind of dream of something. Now, the sacrifice did come out. It was the sacrifice and the jaguar. the jaguar and the wild woman and the staff. It may not be accomplished within the generation of this warrior. That's what I'll say. Because, like, that's the family moving on in the direction without him. That's what brings sacrifice to mind. Like, there's some kind of sacrifice that he pays so that his family can move on, or so that they live in a world better than the one that he is experiencing. I think that could also be, if this isn't that kind of sacrifice, this could be someone that is mourning lost time. Depending upon the simplicity of the solution, it can be easy to feel like, well, like I could have done that. We could have done that at any time. Like I didn't have to waste so many of my years, so much of my life when the solution was that simple. And of course, it's like we don't know what we don't know. Maybe that's the morning as they move on to this brighter future. There's sacrifice in mourning, but there's also solution. And the 6 and the 4 is a 10 of swords energy. So it's a good 10. It feels like a good 10 of swords, but there is still some kind of sting somewhere. So, all right. I'm going to finish eating the other half of this fortune cookie now that this video is over. See how I did that? I ate half. And then I'm going to eat this half. I have 3 more of these. I was going to do like a pick a fortune type thing, but I was like, how am I going to use fortune cards? How am I going to use fortune cookies to read? I did think of the tea leaf fortune cards though. Or maybe I'll just do this again and not spend 2 hours, 21 minutes, and 20 seconds. I don't know. Anyway, I hope you all have an amazing whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. I hope that in whatever way is for you to appreciate whatever delicate situation there is in your life, you can find that appreciation and that you can see where it's taking you, or where it has the potential to take you, what it has the potential to open up. Not the Lenormand being like, we ain't done. Girl, this video is over. I see the anchor, okay? I see the anchor and the heart. And there's the woman and the birds. It's the nighttime birds, though. It's the owls. What is that? 9 of spades, jack of hearts. 9 of swords, page, knight of cups. Is that Pisces? No, I don't know. For some reason, it almost looked like the glyph of Pisces on that anchor. Which would be interesting because that would be something coming up from the 12th house. It's like this anchor is being pulled up. Interesting. Anyway, all right. I hope for you all of the things that I've hoped for you, and I will see you next time, if there is a next time. I'm sure there will be, like, I'm not gonna